We are about to dive into something truly mind-bending, a place where a core concept from modern physics, Einstein's physics, seems to pop up in a story that's thousands of years old. Let's explore how cutting-edge science and ancient scripture might actually be telling the same story.
So here it is, the big question that kicks this all off. Could the idea that time can stretch and shrink, that it can speed up and slow down, a concept that absolutely revolutionized science in the 20th century, have been described in ancient Hindu scriptures? I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but you'll see the parallels are, well, they're surprisingly specific.
But before we can really appreciate just how deep this connection goes, we first have to get our heads around the science. We need to talk about Albert Einstein's incredible, revolutionary idea of time itself.
Okay, so what in the world is time dilation? Well, to put it simply, it means time isn't this universal, constant clock that ticks the same for everyone everywhere. No, it turns out the faster you move through space, or the more intense the gravity you're experiencing, the slower time actually passes for you compared to someone who's just standing still.
Here's a way to think about it. Imagine you have two perfectly synced clocks. You keep one here on Earth, the other one, you place it near a massive black hole where gravity is just crushing. If you could watch them both, you'd see the clock near the black hole ticking much, much slower. For anyone over there, time itself would feel like it's crawling along in slow motion.
You know, pop culture has actually given us a fantastic way to visualize this. If you've ever seen the movie Interstellar, you have seen a perfect depiction of time dilation. Remember when the astronauts land on that water planet near the black hole? They're only down there for a few hours, but when they get back to their ship, the guy they left behind has aged by more than 20 years. That's not Hollywood making stuff up. That's literally the theory in action.
Right, so keep that bit of science locked in your mind, because now we're going to journey back in time thousands of years to a story from an ancient Hindu text called the Bhagavata Purana. And it's here that this very modern, very strange idea seems to make a surprise appearance.
So our story starts with a king. His name is Kakudmi. He has this wonderful daughter, Revati, and like any good father, he wants to find her the absolute perfect husband. But he searches all over Earth and just can't find anyone who is worthy. So he decides to go big. He travels to a higher, celestial realm, Brahmaloka, to get advice from the creator god, Brahma himself.
So King Kakudmi makes this incredible journey and arrives in Brahmaloka. But when he gets there, he finds Brahma is busy, just relaxing and enjoying a musical performance. Being a respectful guest, the king doesn't interrupt, he just waits patiently. And from his perspective, it feels like just a moment, maybe the length of a few songs.
Finally, the concert ends. The king approaches Brahma and presents his list of potential suitors for his daughter. But instead of giving advice, Brahma just laughs out loud. And then he delivers this bombshell. "O king," he says, "every single man on your list, they're all dead. Not just them, but their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren, they've all lived and died."
And this is the really mind-blowing part. Brahma explains that in that short time the king was waiting, just listening to a concert, an unbelievable amount of time has passed back on Earth. Not just a few years or even a few generations, 27 Chatur Yugas have gone by. So what on earth is a Chatur Yuga?
To even begin to understand what Brahma just told him, we have to look at the Hindu cosmological view of time. It's not linear like we often think of it, it's cyclical, and the scales are just staggering. We're talking about cosmic ages here.
So let's just break down the numbers. A single Chatur Yuga, which is like a great age, is made up of 4 smaller ages, or yugas. You add them all up, and one full cycle comes out to 4.32 million human years. Now, think back to what Brahma said. 27 of these cycles passed while the king waited. That is over 116 million years, just gone, vanished, in what felt like a moment to the king.
And if you can believe it, the scale gets even bigger. In Brahmaloka, where the king was, time operates on a completely different level. A single 12-hour day for Brahma, just one morning, is equivalent to 4.32 times billion years on Earth. The king's short wait was less than a blink of an eye, in a realm where time flows at an unbelievably slow crawl compared to our own.
So now we get to the really juicy part. This is where we connect that ancient story to modern physics. Because when you put them side by side, well, the parallels are pretty hard to ignore.
Let's just map this out. In the story, the king travels to another realm, Brahmaloka. In physics, you could see that as moving at incredible speed,
or entering a place with intense gravity, a different frame of reference. In the story, he waits for just a moment, while on Earth, millions of years fly by. That is a textbook definition of time dilation. He essentially traveled through time, arriving at his own planet's distant, unrecognizable future.
And you know, King Kakudmi's story isn't just a one-off. It's not an isolated incident. In the very same text, there's another story about a King Muchikand. He goes off to help the gods fight a war in their realm, and when he finally gets back to Earth, he discovers his entire civilization, everyone he ever knew, has completely vanished into the mists of time.
So this brings us to today. How do people look at this surprising connection between an ancient story and Einstein's relativity? As you can probably guess, there are some pretty strong feelings about it.
Well, one perspective, like this one from a writer at Op India, is that this is absolutely not a coincidence. The argument is that this is clear evidence that the ancient authors of these texts had a real sophisticated understanding of this scientific principle, and they cleverly wove that knowledge into their stories.
And that idea gets taken even further. You see viewpoints like this one from a Reddit user, suggesting this is just one piece of a much larger legacy of advanced knowledge. They express frustration, feeling that this potential wisdom hidden in ancient texts has been overlooked and under-researched for far too long.
So where does all this leave us? Is this ancient story a stunningly accurate pre-scientific description of a fundamental law of our universe? Is it just an incredible coincidence, a fluke of storytelling, or maybe it's something more? A powerful metaphor for the vastness of cosmic, divine time, a scale so immense that our entire human history is just a fleeting moment. The sources don't give us a final answer, but they sure do present a fascinating case where the line between myth and physics seems to completely blur.